Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy Jack OATz to GOAT. You either know or you don't. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the channel and supporting your boy. While I'm on the topic, I keep forgetting to, push it, but if you guys could really help your boy out, like I said, my goal is to get to 3.5K subscribers on this channel by the end of November. I would definitely like to completely annihilate that goal, but it is up to you guys to help me out, and I will do my part to put the videos out and all that good stuff. So yeah, please help your boy out, see what you can do. I don't really ask for this in videos too often. It feels weird to do it, honestly, but like and subscribe helps it out. Thank you very much. All right, anyway, I just want to get into this theory. So something that struck me today, and it was just completely random, because I was just thinking about the Triad, and then we see a full-blown Triad devil here in real time, and I'm thinking, like, there's got to be more things that we can break down that would help us sort of just place, like, where these devils really are and who they are. There's still an element of mystery, even though we know, I put "know" in quotes, that Dante's devil is Lucifero. There are still some pretty questionable things behind whether or not that really is Lucifero. And if you are new to the channel, I do say that for a reason. I have a Belphegor theory out there, and I just revamped it with Lucifero's real magic, which is not gravity, that video. So you can probably watch that and get the gist of it, but then you probably want to go back and watch the other ones, because they have a lot more detail, of course. But then there's also Xenon's devil, who is a complete mystery. And we have to assume that the element of mystery is for a reason. It's not just because Tabata's like, oh yeah, like, just going to slack on this important devil that's going to literally raise hell. There's something behind Xenon's devil that he doesn't want us to know just yet. There's going to be a bigger reveal. I think it's very clear to see that. But anyway, to get into this theory, I was thinking about, like, the devil markings and, like, what they could mean. And I guess here we can actually, I want to start with Vonica, because we have both Vonica and her Triad devil, Magicula. Okay, and then we'll go on to Xenon and then save Dante for last. So let's first just refresh, right? When we talk about a triad, we are talking about these triangles on either tree. It doesn't matter if it's the tree of life or death. They are specific triangles, and they are separated into three pillars. You have the pillar of severity and the pillar of mercy. Then right down the middle, you have the pillar of equilibrium. So down the middle are the ones that keep the left and right pillars balanced. So nothing gets out of control. If you have too much of one, then it becomes an imbalance and thus becomes more of a clipotic element. And then if you have both with no equilibrium, it's a constant struggle. So you'll never actually truly be in balance. You'll forever be struggling. So you need all three. Now, I detail this a bit more in how the Sephiroth and the Clipot work, but just as a quick refresher, when you go from, when we look at the first triad, which is the lowest one, we're going to use the Tree of Life. You have Yesod, Neztak, and Had. You have Yesod below the two, Neztak and Had. However, the way it's actually oriented is that Yesod is actually the highest point. And the reason for that is because of the displacement that the fall of Lucifer caused. And again, I detail this a lot in my other videos. The abyss is where Lucifer fell. And when Lucifer fell, those spheres on the pillar of equilibrium ended up shifting downwards, but it did not actually shift their positioning, if that makes sense. So while you see it below them, they're actually higher than the both of them. So anyway, with that said, for this triad situation to make sense, how they're opening the entire underworld and all the seals, would more than likely have to do with the fact that these devils come from what is called the supernal triad. Now, the supernal triad on the Tree of Life and Death are the highest points. For the Qliphoth, it's the lowest point of the trees. So for the Tree of Life, that is Keter, Chokmah, and Bina. That is the supernal triad, the highest triad. So in series, that is Licht, Ran, and Raya. And then for the Tree of Death, we have the Thamael, which is Satan and Moloch. Then we have Sitariel, which is Lucifutro Focal and Iset Zenonim. And then we have the Gagael, which is Belial / Beelzebub. Those are the three highest triads. And then below them you have the ethical triad, and then below them you have the astral triad. The other two don't really matter for this video, so we won't really go over that. But they hold their own purposes in different lore. So maybe that's another video if you guys are interested. But it is not very relevant to this situation. So with that said, we have what we have to assume is the supernal triad for this to work. We look at Vonica. Now, Vonica's right eye is covered, and we know that's more than likely just Magicula's eye, right? How Magicula is able to manifest. And we, I want to show you that if you line up, like Vonica's face with the supernal triad here, it lines up with the Sitariel. And this is kind of just pushing this idea that I've had that Magicula is actually Iset Zenonim, who is the princess of the Sitariel, or the queen of the Sitariel. And when we look at the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life aligned with the chakras, we also see that the third eye, and this is also just part of the Sitariel itself, the third eye opens in the Sitariel for any mage that's going for the towards the path of the dragon. Even in the path of the serpent on the Tree of Life, you open your third eye at Bina, which is correspondent to Sitariel. So the third eye is lined up, as you see, with the Sitariel and the Gagael, or Chokmah or Bina, doesn't really matter. It lines up there, and we see Magicula, who's got a third eye. And then we also have this marking on her throat that looks a lot like Dante and Morris's markings on their foreheads, but it's on her throat. And then we go back down, and the throat is aligned with Geburah and Chesed, which is, what are they corresponding to on the Tree of Death? I believe it's the Gog Shabla and I'm forgetting the other name of it, but it doesn't really matter. It's lined up there, but what it's saying is that this region, you see there's a bigger gap between those two than the rest of the other ones, and the reason for that is because this is the region of the abyss, Dot. So what this tells me is that given the last video where I read to you guys about the different versions of Lilith and how she holds 3 homes on the Qliphoth, and her true home is in the Sitariel, and we talk about how she is able to rebirth a mage via death, and Magicula is pretty much death and decay incarnate, right? But very specific is that she opens her womb to the mage. So part of ascending is dying. And we go over that many times on this channel. When you cross the abyss, what you have to do to get to the Sitariel is you have to die and get reborn. So in this case, to me, this resembles that this abyss is correspondent to Magicula in the way that she has her third eye because she's from the Satariel. This marking is on her throat because she is pretty much the abyss. Her womb, it would be the abyss, but it's correspondent to the throat chakra, if that makes any sense to you guys. So that's where I wanted to start. So if that makes sense, we can move on perfectly. So I want to go over to Xenon, and I want to do the same thing. I want to line his face up with the tree that we have, and his eye actually lines up with the Gagael. And this supports a theory that I've had for a very long time, that his devil is actually Belial / Beelzebub. And I bring up the markings in the placements just because of this. I said it earlier that these trees are separated into 3 pillars. One pillar being the pillar of severity, the far pillar also being the pillar of mercy, with the middle pillar being the pillar of equilibrium, the one that balances the two. So with that, we have Vonica, who has an eye that is on the pillar of, I don't have it up in front of me. I'm going to just edit it in if I get it wrong, but I probably won't get it wrong. So, no, I'll probably get it wrong. The pillar of, let me think, because it didn't make any sense to me when I thought about it on the Tree of Life and Black Clover. So the pillar of severity is the Satariel, right? So that's Bina, and that would be Raya on the Tree of Life. So she has her right eye covered, and this is the pillar of severity. And if we think about Magicula, right, pretty severe, death and decay, that's her whole shtick and curses. Severe, that's the key word, right? And then we have Xenon with his marking over his left eye. And this is on the pillar of mercy. Now, not saying Xenon or his devil are merciful, but the magic is a bit less crude than Magicula's. So I would say that's probably a good fit. And then we have... and I would probably assume that his devil has a third eye as well. Just since they are on the same level. And that is where the third eye opens, and he, if he is part of the Gagael, he ranks higher than Magicula in this sense. So any devil after this would more than likely have to have a third eye open. That's just kind of the way it goes, except for Satan, Lucifer, and probably Moloch, actually, because they already have their natural eyes are the third eye, because they call it the eye of Lucifer. So they probably don't need the third eye, since it's based around them anyway. So his marking is right over the Gagael, and this again is just going to support the theory that I've had that it's Belial Beelzebub that he has. And then I want to go to Dante. Now you're probably thinking like, okay, like his is like all the way across the forehead. Now, compared to the other two, his is more balanced across his face, right? There's an imbalance with Vonica where it's just one side, imbalance with Xenon where it is just the other side. But with Dante, it's directly across his forehead, which resembles to me is that he's got to be somewhere in the middle on the pillar of equilibrium. Now, the tricky thing about placing Dante, now, I know we have Lucifero in the story, but I've said this before. I highly doubt that Tabata would throw us names like Lilith and Nama, like straight up out of lore, and then turn around and say, okay, I'm going to name you Lucifero, and not actually just Lucifer. So that's why I've always believed he was probably Lucifugio Focal, if not Belphegor. Now, the thing about this is that the Thaumael and Keter, respectively, cannot actually be represented in the triad. This is something I went over in one video a little while ago. The Thaumael and Keter can never truly be represented in the realm of in the physical realm. So what happens is, and this is where I reflect the, it's called gravitational lensing, where it shines its light through the abyss, and you get a glimpse of what it truly is, but it's not the actual being, if that makes sense, okay? So what we're getting is an offshoot, if you will, of the true thing that is represented by this. But my theory to support, like I've been doing this whole time, is that Dante and his marking actually represents the levels that we have on the pillar of equilibrium. Because if you look down the middle, you see 4, but remember, dot is a pseudo-sephira, and that gives us 5. So if we turn Dante's head, his lines, the thorns, or we'll just say thorns, on his crown marking lines up with the 5 spheres on the pillar of equilibrium. So to me, the reason why I say we turn his head that way is because he would be connected to all of those spheres, and the only one that's connected to all of those spheres at once is Tiferet, and that is where Belphegor lies. Okay. Now, you're probably thinking like, okay, now you just ditch the chakras, because it clearly says right here that the heart chakra is related to Tiferet. And that I don't have an answer for, to be honest with you. So it's just what it is. And it's just one of those things that was like, okay, it's kind of interesting to put together. But maybe we'll find out more to see, what exactly is going on with Dante's devil. Like I said, I'm not completely sold that it is this Lucifero character that we saw murder Lucida. I do truly believe that those are 2 different beings. So we'll see. I still don't have an answer as to why Morris would have the same marking on his forehead, unless, Belphegor is able to, give power to another person, or, like I said, Belphegor has been known for shape-shifting as well. He shows the mage what they want to see if they are incapable of seeing true beauty. Because Tiferet on the Tree of Life is the sphere of beauty. So Tigirian, where Belphegor lies, would be the antithesis of it, where it's beauty that's hidden. So it could be very easy for a guy as warped as Dante to get the wool pulled over his eyes. Unironically, where Morris might actually have Lucifuge, Rofocal, the real Lucifero that we saw kill Lucida. And his eyes, ironically, would be more open and susceptible to seeing who that truly is. So tricking him would not be ideal. So I do think there are 4 separate devils at play. But anyway, I did want to bring that to you guys' attention. But like I said, since we had Magicula and Vonica, and we have this marking on her throat, and we also see that the third eye is aligned with it, and given that her womb is considered the abyss that the mage goes to be reborn through death, kind of all clicks together. So I'm pretty sold this is Aishet. We'll definitely see soon. But yeah, I think that's all I'm going to leave you guys with. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it was a little bit easy to digest, but if you have any questions, concerns, comments, death threats, just hit me up on the comment section below or on Twitter. Again, guys, it really helps if you share this out. Help me on my road to 3.5K by the end of November. you guys would be truly goated if you could help me out with that. So throw a like on this, sub if you haven't, show your friends, show your grandma, your grandpa, show your dog. I hear dogs are pretty into my channel. So anyway, this has been Jack OATz to Go. You guys stay safe, stay out the way. You either know or you don't.